some users registration, 3 users are given. System manager. Okay, connected. Now here registration here select star from uinfo. Already 3 users are there. Okay. Next, 4th user, suppose triple D. Now submit. See, you have registered successfully. If you click login, login form, now here, welcome triple D. If password is wrong, invalid username. If username also wrong, invalid username or password. Okay. This program you have seen. Now, my task is these 2 programs connected to which database? These 2 programs connected to which database? Oracle database. If you want to change the database, then what you have to change in the program? You have to change driver URL, here driver URL, username, password. Driver you have to change, URL you have to change, username you have to change, password you have to change. These 4 you have to change. Okay. Now, if you change, what will happen? Again, it is compiled. Again, you have to deploy. These all required. But instead of writing here, these all you can write in XML. XML anytime you can modify, no compilation, nothing. It is automatically updated by server. So instead of writing here, you can write these parameters in XML. It is possible. You can retrieve from XML. That XML is called configuration file. That's what, to retrieve from XML, this Sowlet config required. Till we didn't use config. Now I'm going to use config. Okay. Now, first of all, about web.xml, write it web.xml. Note down, it is called as configuration file, and it is used to configure Sowlet's JSP's welcome files, initialization parameters, context parameters, dash, etc. It is called as configuration file, and it is used to configure Sowlet's JSP's welcome files, initialization parameters, context parameters, dash, etc. Just write this one. It is called as configuration file, and it is used to configure Sowlet's JSP's welcome files, initialization parameters, context parameter, dash, etc. Now, initialization parameters. Initialization parameters. Initialization parameters are used to initialize solid. 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 You observe in this program, here init method very written. Init method when it is called whenever first request comes to a solid. Okay, whenever first request comes, this solid object created with that life cycle init method called. Okay, life cycle init called. Then connection established. This is nothing but initialization. This is nothing but initialization. Okay. Now this is init method. One time only called. Very first request only. Then this is connection initialized. This is connection initialized with your database. Now this code also, if you write inside that post, what is the problem? Every request connection established. That is burden to processor system performance also will decrease. Every time connection established after the task. That's what that code be written inside the init method. Inside the init method. This whatever you are writing in the init method, whatever you are writing in init method, it is initialization purpose only. That's what name is init. Init nothing but initialization. Because that code executed only once. That code executed only once. Okay. Now suppose you can initialize with parameter and constructors also. Studied no? In core Java class how to initialize instance variables. Now for example, class EMP will write integer employee number, string name, float salary. These three which type of variables? Instance variable. You already studied how many types of variables are there? 3 types. What are those? Instance variable, class variable, local variable. First of all, when we have to use instance variable? Now 3 types of variables, okay. While selecting variable, when we have to use instance variable? If the value is different. The value is different for every object. We have to use instance variable. When we have to use class variable? If the value is same for all objects, then class variable. When we have to use local variable? See, all are not giving answers, you observe. Now, these 3 instance variables, class variable, local variable. When we have to use instance variable, if the value is different for objects, when we have to use class variable, if the value is same for all objects, when we have to use local variable to perform the task, if any calculation part is there, local variable. If the variable depending on another variable, then we have to use local variable. Now, if I give some variables list, can you select? Now, student roll number, which variable required? Student roll number. Every student, same roll number will be there or different roll number will be there. Then what you have to use? Instance variable. Student name, student address, student mobile number, mail ID. Now, college name, class variable. In that college, all students, college name, same will be there. Then you have to select class variable. University name, In that college, all university students, same university name will be there. So university name call class variable. Now C language marks instance variable. Every student C marks same will be there. No, different. Then instance variable. C++ marks, Java marks, HTML marks, total marks. Which variable required? Local variable. Calculation is there, no? Total. C, C++, Java, HTML, all you have to add. Calculation is there. Local variable. If any variable depending on other variable, local variable. Total depending on C marks, C++ marks, Java marks, HTML marks. Like then you have to use local variable. Suppose salary, employee salary, instance variable, bonus, local variable. Bonus depends on basic salary. Then local variable, 10% bonus, 5% bonus, like that will calculate. Calculation is their local variable. Don't forget core Java. Core Java most important. Okay. Don't forget core Java. Now, these variables, can I initialize like this? Is it valid or not valid? Valid. What is the problem with this? Now it is also initialization. No? What is the problem with this? For all objects, same data comes. See, if I create employee E1 equal to new employee, what will be there? 101. Another E2 equal to new employee. Again 102. EMP E3 equal to new EMP. Again same data. Every object same data comes. That's what. This is not recommended to initialize. This is not the right way to initialize. But how to initialize? How to initialize? Constructor required. Purpose of constructor is to initialize instance variable. What is the purpose of constructor? To initialize instance variable. So in this situation, default constructor or parameter constructor? Parameter. Integer employee number. String name. Float salary. Same variable name can I write? Yes, we can write. Okay. Here employee number, name, salary. These three variables. Which type of variables? What are these? Local variables. These three variables are if instance variable names and local variable names, if it is same, how to access this keyword? What you have to write? This dot employee number equal to employee number. Next, this dot name equal to name. This dot salary equal to salary. Okay. See here, many people, they do not know. In the books, always like this only will be there. Why this keyword? Why this keyword? They'll think. Here, these are instance variable. These are local variable. If same name is there, if you want to initialize, this is only right way. There is no other option. Now, what will happen? Now, here, 101 on different names. 5,000 salary. Now, 102. See, now you are getting different values, no? This is the right way to initialize. Constructor, what purpose? Initialization. Constructor purpose is that one. Constructor purpose is that one. Okay. Now, these three instance variables, employee number, name, salary. Employee number, name, salary, instance variables. Instance variables without constructor, you should not initialize. If you initialize, that is suitable only for one object. Suppose in your program only one object is there, it works. More than one object is there, always same data comes, wrong output comes. That is logical error. That is treated as logical error. Okay. So instance variable, if you want to initialize, compulsory parametered constructor required. Parametered constructor required. Okay. Then if parameterized constructor like this we created. Now what will happen? While creating object, I passed data. This data received by local variables. This data stored in instance variables. Again, another object created. Again, data stored in local variable, instance variable. Now, when memory allocated to instance variable, whenever object is created. Here, how many objects are created? Then how many copies created? 3 copies. In every copy, data different. No? This is the right way to initialize. This is the right way to initialize. But here, in Savlets, what we are using? Init method. But instead of init method, here also constructor you can write. No? Yes or no? What is the purpose of constructor? What is the purpose of init method? But instead of init, why init method? Constructor you can write. No? Think yourself. Why constructor instead of init? Why init method instead of constructor? Object is not created by programmer. Object is created by web container. Object you are not creating. Who is creating? Web container will not create object like with parameters. With a default constructor it will create. Now, suppose like this parameter constructor is there. This line is valid or not valid? Give me answer. This last line. Valid or not valid? Why it is not valid? Here already parametered constructor is there. Java compiler will not provide default constructor. Suppose if we initialize instead of init method, if we initialize with parametered constructor, will it object creates? No, because there is no default constructor. Even if it creates, and this initialization not possible with a default constructor. That is the reason init method. Got it? So here this connection, instance variable or class variable or local variable. That is initialized here. That is initialized here. But you can initialize with parameterized constructor. But problem is we are not creating object. Who is creating object? Web container. Have you written login solid lg ls equal to new login solid? No. That object created by web container. For creating object, constructor required. The default constructor implicitly provided. With that only it creates object always. Suppose if you write parametered constructor, then the default constructor will not come. Even if you provide with that initialization, not possible. Initialization, if you want to do compulsory parametered constructor only required. No? That is the reason we are not using constructor. Okay, we are using init method. And also one more thing, how to pass parameters? That is a server creating object. No, server creating object. That is the reason XML file. From XML you write from XML it will supply. Because server knows XML only. Browser knows HTML only. Browser knows HTML. Server knows XML. So in these values, you are passing, you are creating object from main method you are passing in core Java. But here not possible. No? Here not possible. Server is running. Your program is running by executed by server. Running in server. So how to pass parameter? Not possible. That is the reason XML file. Whatever you want to supply to Savlets or JSPs, write in XML. Server it will receive, it will send. Because server knows only XML. Browser knows HTML. Database knows SQL. Like that. Okay. Database can understand only SQL. Browser can understand only HTML. Server can understand only XML. Like that. That type language will use. Okay. So here it is not possible to initialize with parametered constructor. If you write also, server cannot call with parameters. Server knows only default constructor that is already prepared, that mechanism already developed. That is the reason we are using init method. Now, but these parameters dynamically you can pass. Dynamically means in core Java, what you did? Command line arguments, scanner class, system.in, system.in.read. These all possible? No, because we are not sending. The server is sending. That is the reason XML. Whatever you want to inform to server through XML inform. Server knows. Otherwise, server doesn't know. Whatever you want to provide through XML, you provide. Server will understand. Okay. That is the reason these all parameters you can create as a initialization parameters. Now, if you want to change the database, driver required, URL required, user required, password required. Dynamically, if you want to pass, how will pass? Here, command line argument possible, scanner class possible, system.in.read possible, buffer reader possible. These all not possible. Those are operating system related. Under OS, if it is running, you can do, but it is under server running. Those all not possible. Through XML file possible. Okay. Those are called initialization parameters. Now, initialization parameters are used to initialize solid. Next, write it. To configure initialization parameters, we use init param, comma, param name and param value tags in web.xml. Init param, param name and param value tags in web.xml. To configure initialization parameters, we use init param, param name and param value tags in web.xml. Initialization parameters are specific to Servlet. Initialization parameters are specific to Servlet. Initialization parameters are specific to Servlet. One particular Servlet only. To which Servlet you configure, that Servlet only can use. Other Servlets cannot use. Initialization parameters are specific to Servlet. Now, if you want to change the database, driver, URL, user, password, these four parameters required. These four parameters write in XML as a initialization parameter. You can configure. Later you can retrieve. If you want to change the database, you have to change XML only. No need to change Servlet. That's the benefit. Okay. How to configure? Now, example. Example. Now I'll show you in a Eclipse only directly. Is it over? Say in this program already XML is there. To which Servlet you want to configure that Servlet. After that Servlet class, you have to write init param inside param name, inside param value. Like this we have to write. Like this, how many parameters required? 4. Driver, URL, user, password. That's what I'll copy, I'll paste 4 times. Now, here, whatever you want, you can write. Parameter name, driver. This is driver. Oracle dot JDBC dot driver dot Oracle driver. Here again URL. Now the variable name, whatever you want, you can write. JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon at localhost 1521 XC. Here username, system, password, manager. Okay, like this I configured. Now these all we can retrieve in Solid. How to retrieve, I'll show you. First of all, you write this program. 1 minute. Complete, no need to write. Just example, you written up to here. Web app, Solid, description, display name, optional. Now write this one. Example, write this one. So here, after Solid class tag only, you have to start init param. Any other location, if you write, error comes. Okay. After Solid class only, you have to write. Before Solid close only, you have to write. That's what the from here onwards, right? I said. Okay, I written for registration Solid. Now, that means these parameters are specific to registration Solid. Not over. Solid class. So just a web app, Solid, Solid name, Solid class. After that, init param. Up to driver is over. Driver. Up to solid enough. The remaining code normal as it is. After solids, just remove dash dash, write it. Remaining same as above, same as previous programs type only. Remaining code no need to write. Where we have to write init parameters, you should know. After solid class, before solid close. This is important. Before this tag, after solid class tag. That is you should know. Okay. Is it completed? Initialization parameters are specific to solid. That means here after solid class init param required, before solid close you have to complete. Okay. That means these parameters are listen the class. Now here these parameters are specific to registration solid. Now note first writing is over. Note the above initialization parameters are specific to registration solid. The above initialization parameters are specific to registration solid. Now, to retrieve these parameters in a solid, we use the following method of jakarta.solid config interface. To retrieve these parameters in a solid, we use the following method of jakarta.solid config interface. To retrieve these parameters in a solid, we use the following method of jakarta.solid config interface. Say these parameters you can retrieve in a solid program with that connection established. If you want to change the database, you need to change XML. Then no need to change solid program. Okay, that is the benefit. First, is it over? Now method I'll give. The interface name already written. So get init parameter. Write this method. Here, name of the parameter you have to pass. Here, value of the parameter comes. Name of the parameter you have to pass. Value of the parameter comes. So method name get init parameter. Get init parameter. How to get request parameter? What is method name? Get parameter. This is get init parameter. Is it? That is just get parameter. Is it? Okay. Get parameter method in solid requests. This is in solid config. Okay. Get init parameter. Here parameter name you have to pass. Parameter value comes. Is it over? Get init parameter. Parameter name you have to pass. Parameter value comes. Okay. See. That is I configured for registration solid. Registration solid. Here. Now no need to write this one. We can remove. Now these all we can already be written in XML. Now first we have to write. What we have to write? Return type. String. Suppose this one. What do you write? This method you have to call. This method which interface. This method which interface. Solid config. Here already we have config now. So config dot get init parameter. Parameter name. What I given there? Driver. That must match. String is to equal to config dot get init parameter. Parameter name URL. Whatever we given in the XML file, that one must match. Again config dot get init parameter user name. Next. X4 equal to config dot get init parameter password. Okay. Here S1. Here S2, S3, S4. Over. Now here if you want to change the database, now which one you have to change, XML or Java? XML. Say right click, run on server. XML also saving, registration solid also going to save. Select the server. Next, finish. Restart the server. Say here homepage.html registration. Already 3 users are there. 4 users are there. 4 users are there. Now 5th user. Triple E. Now if I click submit, see registered successfully. Okay. Now you observe. Now here in this solid program, now driver is not there, URL is not there, username not there, password is not there. Where it is all? XML file. Okay. Now I written as a initialization parameter, but login solid also is there. Login solid, but here also required. Then what you have to do? Again in XML file, here login solid configuration is there, no? Here after solid class, again init param name, param value, init param 4 times you have to write. But suppose 10 solids are there. 10 solids required. What will do? How many times you have to configure? 10 times. Instead of that, context parameter. One time configure, all solids can use. That is. So next concept, context parameters. Note on. Context parameters. You have seen initialization parameters. Okay. See, initialization parameters you studied. Now context parameters. Note. Context parameters are used to initialize solid. Same, purpose is same. See what I given here. Here, initialization parameters are used to initialize solid. Context parameters also same purpose, but only different. It is specific to solid, that is common to all solids. I'll give next, write it. To configure context parameters, we use context param, comma, param name, comma, and param value tags in web.xml. Context parameters are common to all solids. Context parameters are common to all solids. In a web application. Context parameters are common to all solids in a web application. .war file. Context parameters are common to all solids in a web application. So in a war file, in a web application, 10 solids are there. Then 10 solids can use the context parameter. One time configuration, many times you can, many solids can use that type. Example. Context parameters are used to initialize solid. Purpose is same, but only difference, it is common to all solids, that is specific to solid. Example, instance variable, class variable is that type. Instance variable specific to object, class variable common to all object, that type. That type you assume. Okay. Now like this we have to write. Now example. Now what I'll do is these parameters only I'll change. Init param here. From here onwards, I'll remove. Cut. I'll paste after web app. Now here this should be context. Context. Okay. Context parameter you can change. Now this is outside the solid I written, you observe. Outside the solid. It is common to all solids. Now it is outside the solid. After web app only you write. After web app. Before solid only you write. Okay. After web app only, before solid only you write. Example. Again, no need to write complete. These all optional. Write remove. Write this one. Example.